very few groups have become as legendary as the Rolling Stones. Their stories of excess, glory, and the unavoidable turmoil that comes with decades of shared renown are inscribed in the annals of rock history. However, a stunning revelation has the world abuzz today. The band's ever-cool guitarist Ronnie Wood has finally spoken out, revealing some stunning details about Bill Wyman, his longtime bandmate. Wood, who is usually reserved, spoke his mind, and now there is a great deal of drama, suspense, and disclosures that threaten the Stones' apparently unshakable reputation. From 1962 to 1993, Bill Wyman played bass with the Rolling Stones, and his enigmatic personality has never been hidden. However, Wood claims that a man who was hard to please lurks beneath the placid, gloomy facade. According to Wood, Wyman's disposition is anything but easy. Dealing with him was a living nightmare due to his years of passive-aggressive disputes. Imagine the Rolling Stones in the studio, jamming out without inhibitions until Wyman's scathing critique took all the energy out of the room. Characterized Wyman as meticulous, but not admiringly. On the contrary, Wyman's perfectionism exacerbated tensions and alienated the rest of the band. There was more to Wood's complaints. Frequently, he said that Wyman would minimize his guitar skills or ideas, demonstrating a callous disregard for his contributions to the band. In Wood's opinion, Wyman deliberately widened the gap between them, and what began as small arguments soon turned into a deep animosity. Wood claimed that Wyman's coldness was due more to a bloated ego than timidity, implying that he enjoyed being the odd man out. There is much more to Bill Wyman's prickly personality than what Ron Wood has revealed in his honest statements. A more complex and explosive dynamic that has been building for decades is shown by the bassist's long-running disagreements with Mick Jagger, the charismatic but divisive lead singer of the Rolling Stones. Imagine two guys, each with his own unique style of music and leadership, engaged in a never-ending battle for dominance. One side has Jagger, the colossal showman who has an unwavering vision for the band's future and a keen commercial acumen. Conversely, there was Wyman, the painstaking perfectionist who resented being pushed to the side and frequently felt like an afterthought in the system he had helped create. Conflicts between Wyman and Jagger about identity and respect went beyond simple creative differences. According to reports, he often griped about the singer's seeming dictatorial leadership style and how Jagger would not consider other points of view. Consider the power dynamic within the Rolling Stones during their peak. Jagger and Keith Richards were unquestionably at the center, while the remaining members of the band frequently felt like bystanders in a drama over which they had no say. On the other hand, Wyman was not about to go quietly. An air of tension pervaded the group as a result of his persistent need to be heard, which frequently led him into confrontation with Jagger. In 1978, when they were already experiencing a great deal of internal strife, their relationship reached a boiling point while they were recording Some Girls. Wyman wanted to show off his songwriting skills, so he sang a tune he thought would be popular. However, Jagger's response was one of abrupt and harsh rejection, rather than encouragement. Imagine the setting as Wyman stands before Jagger, his pride hanging precariously, his work is disregarded without a care. Disgrace hit Wyman like a ton of bricks, and he snapped at the world. He said Jagger treated the band like servants, not equal colleagues, and that they were just there to fulfill his creative demands. Things became heated very fast. Screams resounded throughout the recording space during the ensuing squabble between Wyman and Jagger, which shocked onlookers. The subject went beyond a mere musical composition. It encompassed Wyman's pent-up animosity stemming from his perception of his efforts being underappreciated and his presence being ignored. The remark caused shockwaves through the close-knit group when Wyman threatened to leave the band in a fit of rage. The battle served as a sobering reminder to onlookers that the Stones' triumph was born out of intense inner strife. Even though Wyman remained a member of the band for an additional 15 years, the wounds from that disagreement were still fresh. With Wyman's continued estrangement and growing criticism of Jagger's leadership, their relationship never ever recovered. The public witnessed the Rolling Stones as a united front, confidently taking the world by storm, but behind the scenes, the schism between Jagger and Wyman remained an open wound. In interviews, Wyman frequently vented his displeasure, presenting Jagger as an authoritarian who put his own agenda ahead of everyone else. Those who knew them, however, did not miss the irony. The band's success hinged on Jagger's domination, which Wyman despised. Jagger's dogged determination and acute intuition drove the Stones into unexplored terrain, guaranteeing their longevity despite the ebb and flow of musical fads throughout the years. However, Wyman paid a personal price for his accomplishment. He became more and more dissatisfied with life as a Rolling Stone as time went on, which served as a continual reminder that Mick Jagger's towering ego could overshadow even genius. While he was a member of the Rolling Stones, Simon's divisive personality permeated almost every facet of his life. His obstinate streak and tendency to question authority figures made him divisive even beyond the band's circle of influence. Andrew Logan Goldham, the famed music producer who was instrumental in the early success of the Rolling Stones, became the target of one of his most public feuds by the mid-1980s. Imagine this was the old him. Contrasting with Wyman, who was just as stubborn and obstinate, was an affable but infamously strong-willed individual. Their professional relationship took a nosedive when their flamboyant personalities ran head-on into each other. Oldham, who had managed the Stones during their incredible ascent, characterized working with Wyman as a fruitless endeavor, as Wyman's habit of doubting his own judgment and undermining authority wasn't confined to a few of isolated events. This was something that kept happening, and it was getting Oldham mad. Supposedly, he asserted that the studio environment became poisonous due to Wyman's persistent doubts about his abilities, which impeded production. Imagine a band that is ripe with talent and full of creative energy, but their progress is halted by a controlling individual. Their enmity escalated into a scandal that was much discussed in the gossip mill. Unveiled the fissures in the apparently impenetrable base of the Stone through an unseen drama. However, that was just half of the story. The other half was the professional fallout. Much outside the rock community, Wyman's private decisions sparked indignation and incredulity, making his personal life a veritable labyrinth of scandal. One of the most notorious scandals in rock and roll history occurred in 1989 when he wed Mandy Smith. The headlines were inflammatory, not merely provocative. Reportedly, Wyman started dating Smith when she was 13 years old, a fact that shocked the public and the music industry alike. Imagine the scandal if a 40-year-old rock star openly pursued a girl who was just a teenager. Many others found it to be absolutely inexcusable, not to mention quite controversial. Immediate and devastating consequences ensued. Everyone from fans to critics was quick to criticize Wyman's actions, but the incident had an internal impact on the Rolling Stones as well. Although the band had endured innumerable scandals, this one hit a nerve. There was clearly tension within the group when multiple members allegedly expressed their disdain in private. It was difficult for some members of the band to get over the incident because it was both a public relations disaster and a personal betrayal. It was too late for Wyman to fix the harm. Already tarnished by his distant and aggressive demeanor, his reputation nearly met its demise. Even his former allies started to distance themselves from him once the media portrayed him as a morally bankrupt man. The unmoved, almost rebellious Wyman betrayed no signs of fear. The connection had been above board and consenting, he claimed, but that didn't stop the criticism. A tarnished chapter in an already contentious career, the incident established an indelible mark on his legacy. Reflecting on Wyman's past, it becomes evident that his darker sides, desire to question authority, resistance to compromise, and difficulty in managing personal boundaries were more than just shortcomings, they were defining characteristics. Their convoluted legacy is a result of the alienation they caused among collaborators, friends, and even admirers. A painful reminder that brilliance frequently comes at a heavy price. For every moment of genius he brought to the Stones, there was an equally distressing moment of disharmony. Wyman appeared inseparable from the band spirit that characterized the Stones even as they toured the globe and solidified their position as rock gods. Consider the infamous late-night jam sessions, wild parties, and boundless inside jokes that the Rolling Stones would engage in while performing. Nevertheless, Wyman frequently preferred to work alone, meticulously recording information about the band's past or analyzing financial spreadsheets. Some took it as a sign of his eccentric personality, while others saw it as evidence of his bandmates' failure to form genuine bonds with him. This seclusion wasn't coincidental, according to Ron Wood's lat. Remarks. Wood added that Wyman isolated himself by refusing to interact with the band members on a human level, which left them feeling uneasy. According to reports, Wyman allegedly maintains icy relations with many Stones members, including Wood, even after departing the band for decades. You can't discount Wyman's impact on the Rolling Stones sound just because of his troublesome personality. Painted Black and Jumpin' Jack Flash relied on his bass lines, and his methodical approach to music gave them an accuracy that few other bands could match. The discoveries by Ron Wood, however, demonstrate that those accomplishments were not without cost. Wyman has left a mixed legacy, characterized by his confrontational attitude and personal controversies, which continues to divide both admirers and critics. With Ron Wood's frank remarks making news, fans had to face the shadowy side of their favorite band's past. Although the Rolling Stones are instantly recognizable as rock and roll, their narrative is actually one of strained relationships, egotism, and unfinished business. Despite his many accomplishments, Bill Wyman continues to divide opinion due to his infamous inability to get along with people. And as Wood's startling disclosures show, not all wounds can be healed.